What?
Subscribe.
Subscribe. We'll highlight all that. Don't you worry.
Just
But of
saying,
course,
you gotta remind people.
Subscribe right now.
Subscribe.
subscribe. Of course.
Philadelphia, baby, you're gonna love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
Gentlemen, welcome into the Get in the Hole podcast. Stephen McAvoy back with me. Benjamin Pirro live from the underground Monday, 7/9, episode 162 of America and England and Iceland's favorite golf podcast, coming to you live from the underground, a part of the Underground Sports Philadelphia podcast network, streaming on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you can get a hold of these two gorgeous, handsome men, bringing you all the news, analysis, and betting tips from across the golfing world, including the PGA Tour, LPGA Tour, Corn Ferry, LIVGolf Tours, and some Ryder Cup news this week. Spoiler alert, proudly presented by some of the best sponsors in the biz, including our friends at Tomahawk Shades, the best small batch eyewear brand in the nation. Founded on Long Island, me and Ben's hometown, rep by some of the biggest brands in the sports world, including, of course, lacrosse and football duo man Chris Hogan, big-time PLL man Kyle Harrison. I'm probably going to see in a couple of weeks at PLL Fairfield with KB. It's going to be a wild weekend, so stay tuned for that. And, of course, Paige Sporanic, Tomahawk Shades is guaranteed to keep you looking fresh from the first hole to the 18th green and beyond. Go to tomahawkshades.com or download the Tomahawk Shades app on the App Store or Google Play Store and browse their selection of sunglasses, blue light plus glasses, and prescription lenses. Be sure to use code USP for 25% off your next order. Again, code USP for 25% off your next order at tomahawkshades.com or the Tomahawk Shades app. Once again, recording every Monday here in the Underground. I'm your host, Stephen McAvoy. Joining me is, of course, Ben Pirro. You can find him on Instagram at BC Pirro. You can also find him at a local golf course in a couple of weeks here on Long Island for the New York State Open, baby. Benjamin Pirro and his possible caddy, who we will announce on this show next week. One name in the hat right now happens to be me.
Yeah. So basically, I ended up going through qualifying this year for the New York State Open. And mind you, I will say, the man's kind of on a heater right now. Tied for second, tied for fourth, solo second, almost won the Providence Open. I know, almost doesn't count because I was leading with one hole to go. Didn't know I was leading at all. And proceeded to bogey 18, then lost in a playoff. 9 under, though, for 2 days. You can't really complain too much about that.
Yeah.
Regardless, though, I need a caddy because in that event, in the New York State Open, you have to have a caddy. They make you. And I think I've made it pretty obvious that I'd prefer not to have caddies normally. I like to just kind of do my own thing. And I had asked 2 people, and one of them said he would love to do it, and then his boss said no because he could. Yeah, I know. And then another one of my buddies, who's a really good friend of mine, really good amateur player, he goes, I would, but my wife is going into labor on the 24th. And I said, that's more important. That's understandable. And so I did say, if you know anybody who could do it, who's not a complete moron, that would be great. Because last year, I will say, had kind of a moron on the bag. Really not looking to have to deal with that again this year.
Yeah.
And so I asked Steve, if it comes to that point where I can't find anybody.
No. That isn't how this happened. This
see.
was you put up on your Instagram story.
Oh, that's right.
In need of a caddy, and I just commented back, "Hey stud," with a winky face, and you answered back, "Oh my fucking god!" And I'm like, "Yep, this is exactly how this is gonna go." So if at all you're completely desperate, I have taken the precautionary paid time off. I have told my boss that I might be out and I might be caddying a tournament. And he said, bro, if you do it, send me videos. And I said, deal. But I will say this, as my pitch to you is that I'm funny. I can calm you down. And I know I can. because at the end of the day, only you know your yardages and you do everything the way you want to do it. I'm not going to get in the way of that. However, I will say this. I am very good at reading green. So if you ask me for some help, I will be able to help you in a very strong way. But again, I understand that as the pro and just his friend on the side, I'm really just there for moral support and to be your pack mule for 3 days. And also, I'm hoping that if I do end up doing this and you win, this is the start of a prosperous relationship where it's very much like Joel Damon and Gino Benali, where it's going to literally be two growing up friends who become caddy player because it kind of just works out that he happens to win throughout his amateur and young pro career with this handsome, strapping, larger lad on the bag.
Okay.
And look, I told you this multiple times. I will drop everything and I will work for you if you get big enough on tour and can win some tournaments. Which actually also got me thinking, because of the fact that Ted Scott is currently 50th on the all-time money list. Technically speaking, he can also qualify for every signature event if he really was to, because he's so high up on the money list. Which would be hilarious if you become the next Scotty Scheffler and I become your next Ted Scott.
Are you done yet? Can I continue speaking?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, look, you will have the easiest job in the world caddying for me.
Of course.
Okay. I have said this before to people, and I will say it again. Like when I was in college and I would have people caddy for me, you know, if it was like a USM qualifier, a lot of times I would ask like, hey, give me like a college kid.
Yeah.
Someone who could keep up. Someone who's, you know, similar sense of humor to mine, most likely. And I would literally look at them and I would literally just say, I'm like, just so you know, this is going to be the easiest $120 per round you ever make in your life. And they're like, really? I said, yeah. All you got to do is clean my clubs, clean my ball, and keep up. And that's really it. And when I tell you I'm going to do something, I just need you to say, okay, unless it sounds completely ridiculously stupid. And Steve just disappeared, and I don't know where he went. Anyway, so
don't know why I just randomly tapped out. That was weird.
Wrong angle, by the way.
I know. For some reason, my whole thing is all fucked up.
Oh, did you hear everything I was saying? Okay. So
there I am. Hello. Back to Earth.
Did you hear what I was saying?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So basically, Steve, this is going to be the easiest $120 per round you ever make in your life. And I just I'll have you know, I did request a weekend practice round at 2:20 p.m. So it's a Saturday, and I would like to have you on the bag for that if you are caddying for me in the tournament.
Saturday, what? That would be
17th.
17th?
No. What did I ask for?
Be 20 to 21st.
20th. You don't have anything going on. Come on, let's be real.
No, actually, I'm going to Fairfield to shoot content with KB. But I mean, if I have to go Friday and leave and be back for Saturday, I can do that. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
just because, you know, that would allow us to get a practice round under our belt. You can see what I do, how I talk through shots.
Okay.
But yeah, if you end up caddying for me, it's going to be the easiest job in the world for you.
Now, let me ask you this: like,
all you have to do is keep up and just like literally just do those basic things. That's it.
Well, like, all right. So, I mean, look, first of all, I doubt your bag is any heavier than mine is. So it's not like I'm gonna be like, no, it's like honestly, the hardest part is that I've never played black, and so walking it is, I know it's hilly, but like, I don't think it's gonna be like a complete like mental blow up load. I'm sure it'll be easy enough, and so long as I'm hydrated, then I'll be good.
It's gonna be hot. So
I know, but dude, it's hot as balls in the city. Again, like I said, I'll tell you jokes. I'll calm you down. I'm a good listener. You know that. So if you have a blow up hole and you need to just turn the page, I'm here for you. And you know that I'm just your guy.
Papa Steve would have me covered. Yeah, so that's really where we're at right now.
Dope.
I'll know for sure in a couple days what the dealio is, but yeah, it could be fun. We'll see what happens, and yeah, go get a dub.
A lot of possible content and a lot of funny moments, and also probably a vlog that I will be keeping under the belt, just like videoing me watching you and just you watching shots. It'll be fun. Anyways, the big deal that is,
no, you're not gonna have your phone out.
I know I'm not.
Good.
Okay. I'll probably bring somebody to follow us though. Anyhow, big story of the week as we lead off. The fun part of what we're going to get into is that it is not recapping what happened this past week, because to be quite frank, not a lot of people do care about the JDC, but what everyone does care about is that surprisingly late, I will say, after we just realized that they had announced it 2 years ago in February, announced today officially Keegan Bradley, the second youngest captain of the United States Ryder Cup squad, was told by Zach Johnson that he got it, told the media today in Manhattan at the NASDAQ closing he had no idea that he was even considered for the captaincy until Zach Johnson called him, had seemed a little overwhelmed in his interview, but also seemed that he was ready for the challenge. The news leaked yesterday, and Twitter, Instagram, basically all of golf media went up into an absolute frenzy. I'll let you kind of start here. Unpack this from your perspective. What does this mean? Why do you think Keegan did everything? Did something here felt weird to you? What's your opinion?
It's an interesting selection. Look, I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say that he was not their first pick. I think that's pretty obvious. I'm pretty sure we know who their first pick would have been. That would have been Tiger. And Tiger said, I cannot allocate the appropriate amount of time to the Ryder Cup because of what I'm doing right now at the PGA Tour. And that's a very selfless way of looking at it. And just it's very, honestly, it's a very good reason, because the PGA Tour is kind of in disaster control mode. So it's very understandable that Tiger couldn't do it. That being said, we have seen a history, especially a recent history in different sports, of younger coaches being very successful. Okay, you look at the Kyle Shanahans of the world, and the Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur. If you're looking at football, basketball. I mean, JJ Redick just got his first ever professional coaching job with the Lakers. It's TBD to see how that goes. But we have seen, even in baseball, we have seen some managers come back out of retirement. But we've also seen a lot of young managers get a lot of really good opportunities as well.
Yeah.
And so that being said, I would have liked to have seen someone with more of a presence take the reins. Maybe not necessarily Tiger, but someone who walks into a room and you're like, yeah, I'm going to listen to that guy, because he's someone who just naturally demands respect and attention. I'm not sure if Keegan's that guy because he's so young. Mind you, it is possible that he's also playing. I just want to throw that out there.
Oh, he definitely is. Yeah.
There is a possibility he is one of those 12 guys teeing it up as well. And so that being said, that's where my trepidation is. Now, the positives, he's from the area, he's from Massachusetts, he played at St. John's. There's actually a story, I believe it might have been Jim Nance, or it might have been, I don't think it was Johnny Miller. It was someone back when they had, I believe it was, at the time, it was the Barclays when they had it at Bethpage Black. And whoever's telling the story was just saying, like, for lack of a better term, Keegan and his friends used to sneak out on Bethpage Black all the time. They did. They used to sneak out there and play. And So he clearly has familiarity with the golf course. Now, that does definitely serve a purpose. That being said, back in May, Luke Donald and I believe it might have been Martin Keimer, they were already scouting Bethpage Black.
Yeah.
I believe it was back in May. So the U.S. has to play some catch up right now, for sure. I think they needed to make a splashy hire, if you will, based on how disastrous and honestly toxic that locker room appeared to be from the outside in the last go around.
Yep.
But given that toxicity, I would have liked to have seen someone with a little bit more of a presence, who could, reel in the personalities and basically just squash any beef or drama. And look, it remains to be seen how it goes. Only time will tell. But it's interesting nonetheless. It's a very interesting hire. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's a wait and see approach, honestly. And I will say this: if it goes poorly, just because he's from the Northeast does not mean he's going to get a pass.
Yeah,
from those fans. I just want to throw that out there. And so I'm a little bit nervous for him. I am, because especially New York fans, you and I both know they are brutal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, there's a couple of things that I want to highlight with us. So when I first heard the news, of course, this came after it had already been well established, according to James Corrigan of the Telegraph, that Tiger Woods didn't want to take the job, which I get. The next immediate thought that I had was, okay, let's look at the current VCs, because typically the way it works is if you look at the last 7 or 8 guys to run this team, every single one of them, for the most part, actually each of the last 3 have been a VC at least 1 year. When Stricker ran it in 2021, he had been a VC for 2 years prior and has been and was a vice captain even last year under Zach Johnson. Jim Furyk was for 2 years and is still a vice captain after 2 years with Stricker and Johnson. Davis Love has been a VC for the 3 events prior to him captaining and the 3 events after him captaining. Tom Watson, established guy. You're also realizing here this list is guys who are all 50 and 60 years old.
They're on the Champions Tour.
Yes, Paul Azinger, Tom Lehman. They've all been even if you go way back, Ben Crenshaw, even Jack Nicklaus and Lee Trevino and so on. They were all older, established players. I think actually an interesting point that you bring up is that Keegan might be one of the 12 playing. The last time that one of the 12, a American, has teed it up as a captain happened to also be Arnold Palmer in 1963 when he was chosen as the captain and the youngest captain at 34 years old. Very interesting topic to discuss. But like you said, splashy pick they needed. I think this is one of 3 things. One, Keegan Bradley deserved a spot last year.
Yes.
As did arguably Lucas Glover, and both of them were both snubbed, quote unquote. Keegan more than Lucas. The boys club thing, however you want to approach that, whether or not it's a true thing, I get it to a degree. Those guys have experience playing together. They're good in groups. To be honest with you, 6 years ago, if I threw out Jordan Spieth and Ricky Fowler in a duo, I would expect them to dominate. Unfortunately, they are not the players that they were 6 years ago as they were at Marco Simone. I think Zach Johnson just didn't have control of the room. I thought he was too laissez-faire about it. I thought Steve Stricker was a real captain about it. I thought Davis Love was a real captain about it. I thought Jim Furyk was a real captain. Keegan Bradley is not one of those guys. And if I look at it from the aspect of who deserved it more, I think Stuart Sink probably deserved it more as someone who's been a VC for the last 2 years. I think you could have brought back Steve Stricker because they've done it before. Tom Watson had a 10-year gap between his 2 Ryder Cups. By the way, both of which he won. They could have brought in Fred Couples. They could have also had Davis Love again. There's a lot of options here. This also comes down to the idea of, again, Keegan's young. He's, again, only him and Arnold Palmer, when they captained Ryder Cup teams, were full-time participating members on the PGA Tour, playing almost every single week.
Yep.
You don't see that with everybody else. Again, they were all past 50. They were all on the Champions Tour. They were all separated, but they were respected because they are the names that the previous generation of golfers prior to you and me, those people remember. Our fathers remember Fred Couples and Jim Furyk and so on. So I don't think it was splashy in that sense. I think, though, because Zach Johnson's the one who made the call, I do think Zach felt bad for Keegan Bradley and wanted him to be a part of the team. And I don't want that to be the reason why he was chosen as the captain.
Mm-hmm.
I want the reason why he was chosen as the captain is because he was snubbed last year. And this is kind of the reason why I'm okay with the pick now, is that he's now chosen as the captain and wants to get revenge, not necessarily on Zach Johnson or anybody else that he spites at Team USA. He wants to take the sadness and the energy that you saw from him when he got snubbed and put it all towards the one event that's going to literally solidify his legacy for his entire life. He's a one-time major winner. He probably will not win a major ever again in his life. If he can win a Ryder Cup, it'll be the biggest achievement of his entire career. And as we always mention it, Northeastern golfer, born in Vermont, went to high school in Mass, played at St. John's for 4 years, won 3 St. John's events at Bethpage Black, had 8 career wins at St. John's. A third of them came at Black. Has experience here. He loves the Northeast. He's the one Northeastern golfer that's been on tour for the last 15 years that you know and love. It makes sense that you put him in a situation like this to take all the raw energy and delve it into this. Do I think he's respected by everyone? Yes, because at the end of the day, he is as close to the players as you can basically get at this point. Because again, like I said, everyone else is separated. I'm actually okay with the pick. My bigger question and my deeper question is, this now kind of shakes up the room a little bit, right? They went with the first player to never be a VC chosen as the captain. So now who are the VCs? You're probably going to keep Steve Stricker. You're probably going to keep Furyk. Yep. Does Davis Love get the chop? Someone here is getting the chop, and it's probably going to be Zach Johnson or Davis Love, unfortunately, because I feel like the players relate the most to Furyk, Stricker, and Couples.
Yes.
If you keep Johnson on the team, it makes sense. He's still young. Do you ask Phil? He was asked today in the interview, you think Phil's going to be your choice? He goes, I don't give a shit about Liv. I want the 12 best players. Great. That's awesome for the players. Are you going to pick Phil? He goes, I don't think Phil wants to be a VC. Which, by the way, this also is a whole thing. This event with Tiger saying no had Phil's name all over it, but the only reason why he didn't get it is because it's a part of Liv. That's a different story for another day. Does he give it to Phil? Does he offer it to Tiger? Or, and I heard another crazy idea from some people in the media space, does he choose Tiger as a captain's pick? Because now it's finally the year, and this is a topic we'll talk about more later on. But do you offer Tiger the VC role? Do you offer Phil the VC role? If you don't offer either one of them the role, do you put them in a position to possibly be a captain's pick? Because Phil's actually having a resurgence in his career. Tiger's finally healthy and can actually play a golf tournament.
That is the most ridiculous statement I've ever heard you say.
Healthy.
Not healthy.
What I'm saying is, though, is that you put him in a 4-ball position. That the whole entire round isn't totally on him. He's still a clutch player and can be. And maybe in those moments he can shine the brightest. It was something I saw on social media. It might make sense. I don't really know. But I'm really curious to see who his VCs are going to be, because that's going to also determine the entire trajectory of this roster. And we have a year and a half to analyze who's going to end up being on this team. A lot comes down to who he chooses as his 5 behind him.
Okay. You just said a lot, and I have a lot to unpack. He is, I believe, the first ever captain to never have been a vice captain.
Yes.
Okay. He has probably, quote unquote, the weakest resume that
by far
a captain had. My issue. I know Tiger's been a captain for the President's Cup, and it worked out very well. But we know the President's Cup is just flat out. It's not nearly as competitive as the Ryder Cup. Look at the record. Okay, just look at the record. It's never been competitive. Everyone knows the U.S. is going to win. Everyone knows it. Okay. That being said, I could see him being good in a vice captain's role, helping Keegan out. He's someone that would demand the respect of the players. And I really don't know how much respect Zach had in that room last year.
agree.
I think I'm not saying that to poo-poo on Zach. Zach is a great guy and a great competitor. He's made a lot of money. He's won a lot of big events. But I just don't think the players really respected him. I don't. Look, I could be wrong, but that's just my gut feeling. And at the end of the day, you brought up a really interesting point about like the whole boys club thing, right? You know, what mistake do most sports teams make when they win a championship? They bring all the players back. Okay. And what happens? Players get a little too comfortable. They maybe don't work as hard. Maybe they have other interests that take over. They get a little older. All those things, those are valid points. And it's pretty obvious to say Ricky is not the same player. Jordan is not the same player, you know? And then when you have guys who are basically acting up and just acting selfishly, like Patrick Cantlay, that is a recipe for disaster. And the big thing, look, I think you need to have, if you have some sort of combination of like Tiger, Freddie Couples, Jim Furyk, like if those are three of your vice captains, I think that's a very strong group. Now you can have 5, correct?
Yeah.
So who else would you have? Davis Love, I think that's a good one.
He'd be back, yeah.
Yeah, and then I don't know who could be one other guy. I mean, you could maybe like a Paul Azinger. Maybe he would be interested. He did win as a captain in 2008.
So let me ask you this question, right? Because Zach Johnson's VCs were Stricker, Love, Furyk, Sink, and Couples. Just because the 5 of them were there, the room still was not strong enough. And whether or not that's more of an indication on Zach Johnson than it is anybody else, I don't really know. But what about, let's just say realistically, right? You keep those, let's say you were to keep those 5 guys, or you were to shake one up and you put Tiger in. Who would you remove, and would the room get stronger putting in someone like Tiger as opposed to keeping those core 5 guys that have been there for the last 5 Ryder Cups, whether or not in a captaincy role or otherwise?
I would put Tiger in, and then I would have a conversation with Zach, and I would say who of the 5 vice captains, who was the weak link, who did the least. That's what that's a hard conversation to have. I would definitely have it behind closed doors. Yeah. And I would never let anybody know what the answer is, but that's what I would do. You have to have Tiger in that room. As far as Phil goes, I think that would be a disaster. I really do.
I think polarizing at this point too.
Phil, well, yes, I 100% agree. He would garner so much attention from the media, and it would just take away from the players. And I almost feel like it would be a circus having a guy who basically said, fuck the PGA Tour as a vice captain, when the majority of those guys are on the PGA Tour. And so I know, like, you know, now the world of golf is a little bit different. Guys are supposedly more accepting of it, but still, like, that's like bringing Rex Ryan at this point in his life in to be your defensive coordinator.
Yeah,
like that would be a lot, you know? And it just, I genuinely, if the US, and we're so far out, we have no idea what this team, let's be honest, we have no idea what this team is going to look like, okay? They need, in my opinion, they need to boot one of the old vice captains, whoever did the least amount of work or whoever did the worst job, substitute Tiger in for that person, because instantly you make that room better with Tiger. I'm going to say right now, Tiger and Phil ain't playing. There's no way. Okay, take it to the bank. Steve, if he does, I'll give you $20. Okay, if one of those,
I don't think it will happen, but if it does, it'd be crazy.
Plays on the team, I will give you personally, Steve, $20. Okay.
All right.
But that being said, we cannot have this whole boys club thing ever again.
Yeah.
It was a abject disaster, and we got to shake it up. Screw being best friends. You cannot afford, especially on your home turf, to get embarrassed like you got embarrassed last year. And mind you, Rory had done so much talking after the Ryder Cup last year. It's going to be quite interesting to see how the dynamics of everything. I really do believe that. And this team could look very different. I could totally see a world where you don't have Ricky on the team, you don't have Jordan Spieth on the team, you don't have Max Homa on the team. And I'm not saying they're the problem. I love Max Homa, but Max Homa has not really had that good of a year. He's been so up and down. Okay, this team has the ability, has the chance to look drastically different, and I think that would be the best thing for the squad. I really do.
So I drafted up this tweet and I didn't put it out. And I want to get your opinion. Again, we're a year and a half out. We don't know where anybody's going to be. But I drafted up this possible team, and I think it actually is a very compelling group. So your automatic qualifiers, and I think only one of them would probably, if anybody, would miss out. But it's going to be Scotty, Xander, Colin, I think Bryson, with his form and how he's played on LIV this year, it'll just keep on carrying. I think Cameron Young will automatically qualify because probably by next year he will have a win or two, in my opinion. I think Cantlay is your sixth. Your captain's picks, which I think are actually going to be probably the most fun bunch of the group. I think Sam Burns makes his way back. He's only getting better, and he's still young. I think Tony Finau is consistent enough, and he'll make it on his own. Wyndham Clark, I don't know where he'll be next year. He'll be on the bubble. I'm telling you right now, the two people who will not be on this team next year, in my opinion, are Jordan Spieth and Ricky Fowler, 100%. And Max Homa, I don't think will be either. I think Justin Thomas will be consistent enough to just make the cut. The two rookies that I think are going to be a huge add to this team, and I think might actually play together. First of all, Will Zalatoris can actually come back into form. I think he'll be a interesting play. But I really want to see Sai Thagala and Akshay Bhatia on this team. Two young guys, very strong skill sets. Where do they match up? But I most certainly think that I personally want either one of them over Brian Harmon. I'd want either one of them over Ricky Fowler or possibly Justin Thomas.
No Brooks Koepka?
My LIV thing solely comes down to how they perform throughout the year. I mean, you can have Brooks, you can have Dustin Johnson possibly, because both are still really good in match play settings and they can work on a team well. Think about it. The best team from Whistling Straits was Dustin Johnson and Colin Morikawa, hands down. Is D2 the same player as he was in 2021? I don't really know.
He has not been relevant.
But has he not been relevant more as a product of LIV than it is his actual performances?
His performances in majors haven't been very good.
It's true.
And I've heard through closed doors, he is not exactly the most motivated individual.
Oh, no, of course not. He's totally over the hill on that. Do I think Brooks can make it? Yeah. Realistically, the only two guys from LIV that I think can make it and hold a spot with majors alone, whether or not it's because Brooks made it as an AQ last year, I think. So it'd be Bryson and Brooks. Scotty's a definite. Xander's in there. Colin's in there. I think Cameron Young will get a nod. Sam Burns, Wyndham Clark, and Tony Finau. Two of those three. I want to see Bhatia. I want to see Thagala. If you have to put one of the boys club guys in, it's probably going to be Justin Thomas, just because Jordan Spieth's swing is all fucking out of whack. Ricky Fowler is simply not back. Patrick Cantlay, maybe he might have caused a big enough stir that if he doesn't automatically qualify, he might have talked his way off the team. I just know that Keegan Bradley is going to look at this team under a microscope, and he's not going. He will pick the 12 best guys, but also the 12 best guys who will play the best together. Because at the end of the day, 3/4 of this whole entire thing comes down to how you play in match play singles. That's literally it's over a third of your points. If you can conjure up a strong enough finish there, that was the hardest part. The Team USA got behind because they were down 12-1 after the first day, and basically had to almost win out in singles. But they can build a strong enough team with the kind of guys that they do have if they're able to form a strong enough unit. I certainly do think it's more than possible. We need to move on, though.
One last thing. You do bring up a very good point about Cantlay. If he's not an automatic qualifier, hypothetically,
yeah,
he is 8th in the qualifying standings, I would be very hesitant to bring him on that team. I would have, if I were the captain, I'd be like, are you going to pull the same bullshit that you pulled in the last Ryder Cup? Because if that's what you're going to do, you're not going to play. I would be very honest with him.
And I think also
it's his best interest to automatically qualify.
And I think also, like, as of right now, as we stand to this current day, the Ryder Cup team, the 6 AQs, which I'm actually surprised about one of these. It's Scotty, Bryson, Xander, Colin, Brian Harmon actually makes it at 5, and Wyndham Clark is 6th. Cantlay's 8th right now. Finau 7, Thagala's 9, Homa 10. Russell Henley will be a interesting pick. A lot of these guys down the list need to pick up their shit to the very least.
Yeah.
Because having Taylor Moore and Harris English or Matt McNeely on this team would be quite interesting. But I think that there's a lot of discussions to be had, and I really do think that those captain's picks are going to really be polarizing. Because, and look, as we noticed too, and this is my last point here, it goes deeper than just the player on the course. The issue wasn't just Patrick Cantlay; it was Joe LaCava. So we're not only talking about a pairing of is Cantlay too about himself, or does he want to bring up arguments? Also, is his caddy going to start a fight? I get it; it's emotional, and I'm all for being emotional. I totally want that, but you got to have some composure as a caddy, because if there's one person who's going to hold you back, the player shouldn't hold the caddy back. Like that's a problem. So that right there, I think, is also a major issue. It might actually be a story of, if you want to be on this team, you got to ask Joe for this event.
Or again, Joe just his best behavior.
That's a hard sell. Joe's an emotional fella.
He doesn't have a history of being a distraction, though.
I think, but I think that's partially because for all those years working under Tiger, you're working under Tiger. A little bit looser when you get past the GOAT. It's just like when guys leave Michael Jordan's Bulls teams, they get a little more free. Quickly before we go to our first break here, quick wrap up of the John Deere Classic and a little bit of a fun peek into what's happening next week. So the Scottish Open is, of course, this week. There's actually an alternate event that's also happening back in the States for those who are not qualified for either the Open or this event. Quickly, though, to recap, the JDC Davis Thompson, first career victory on the PGA Tour, yet another first-time winner at the John Deere Classic. Our beer money picks were essentially all guys who could have won it for the first time. We just picked the wrong guys, apparently. But the real story actually comes down to a couple of names that two of them I was going to pick last week, and I didn't, and I really regret not doing it. Luke Clanton, the amateur who's now also the odds-on favorite for the ISCO Championship this week here in the United States, which is a crazy thing to see an amateur be the outright odds leader. Michael Torbjornsson, who, if you don't know who he is the I believe he went to Stanford. I could be wrong. Stanford, and is the second PGA Tour U automatic qualifier to the PGA Tour post Ludwig Oberg. Mac Meissner, who's actually a friend of the program. Our former intern Brittany actually knew him from college. Or growing up in San Antonio. Mac's been on an insane streak so far. He's been playing incredible golf. Jacob Bridgman, the first year from Clemson. Neil Shipley is going to be in the field again. A lot of young talent. Everyone wants to see what Luke Clanton's going to do. He has back-to-back top 10s. He's the first amateur to do that since the 60s. Very much can see him turn pro if he manages to rack in another top 10. Would actually give him, if he manages to finish, I think, in the top 30, he already has special exemptions for the rest of the year on the PGA Tour. He could possibly get a full-on exemption if he manages to finish top 30 in the final 3 events he's scheduled to slate in for the remainder of the year, which would be actually insane. Might see a Nick Dunlap situation of him leaving college in order to get into it, because he actually isn't even a part or isn't qualified enough on the PGAU standings. So some pretty interesting stuff. We'll certainly be betting on Luke Clanton this week. I'm certainly intrigued. Michael Torbjornson's also one of the next like up and coming big names of golf. Like people have been saying this forever, that a Ryder Cup in 5 years is going to be Ludvig Åberg versus Michael Torbjornsson, and I kind of want to see it happen. I would love that. Would be amazing, but of course Ludvig is just eons ahead of everybody else right now at his age. We're going to take a short break though, and we're going to come back on the other side, break down some parts of the Scottish Open, and we're going to do a little bit of drafting, not Ryder Cup related, but a little bit of drafting in the world of golf. We'll be right back here from the Underground.
Get in the Hole is brought to you by PHI Apparel Company, our incredible merch partners. PHI Apparel Co. provides unique designs and high-quality clothing from t-shirts to hoodies for every golfer around. With their original designs for all, there's no doubt you'll stand out on the course, the driving range, or at the 19th hole. Go to phiapparel.co and use code UNDERGROUND at checkout for 10% off any order. That's code UNDERGROUND at phiapparel.co and grab exclusive Get in the Hole podcast merch and support your favorite golfers.
Hey everyone, it's KB, and I am beyond excited to bring you this breaking news about a new project here at Underground Sports Philadelphia. Introducing Light the Flame, an Olympics podcast where all of your favorite Underground Sports Philadelphia personalities will come together to discuss, banter, and break down the Olympic Games. Coming soon wherever you get your podcasts and on our YouTube channel throughout the 2024 Olympics and beyond.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back in to Get in the Hole here with Steve and Ben. The second half of our show, sponsored by our friends at Acorn Hills, bringing you stylish apparel for on and off the course, all using biodegradable packaging and plantable clothing tags. Acorn Hills is changing clothes through conservation. Use code GITH15 for 15% off your next order at acornhills.co and look your best from the ground up. I want to shout out Acorn Hills as well. I had this inspiration while I was asleep last night and needed to put it into the show notes. I want to get really more into our content on TikTok and Instagram. And therefore, every single week, I'm going to be introducing a new segment to begin the B block of our show. Simple stuff, a lot of things that you commonly see on social media. But we're going to start off today with drafting the best golf snacks. You get 5 picks. Ben, I will let you start. The elite golf snacks that you bring to the golf course, the first overall pick.
Okay. All right. First things first. I mean, it has to be Uncrustables. It has to be. They are the best. Look, here's the science behind it, people. Okay. And if you don't like it, and if you like strawberry more than grape jelly, we have a problem. Okay. Anyway, look, you get some carbs because of the bread, a little bit of protein with the peanut butter, a little bit of sugar, give you a little bit more energy with the jelly. That is the ideal snack. 1,000%. Not even close. I used to eat like 5 or 6 of those around.
Kay actually gave me a lot of grief. She goes, yeah, like that's not a snack, it's like a meal. I'm like, bro, I can trounce like 4 of those.
Oh my god, I know people who bring like chicken and like roasted like vegetables to the course. Like that's a snack. It's a snack.
No, exactly. The Uncrustable is the goated undisputed number 1. I'm gonna go with the with a big time, big name. It held a lot of status. You don't necessarily bring him from the first tee, but you most certainly get him after the 9th. The hot dog of the turn is like by far like the goated. Have to eat it for the casual golfer. I don't think you would ever have a hot dog at the turn, honestly, as a pro golfer in a tournament. If you would have the halfway mark snack, would never be that. But for the average Joe, for the average fat ass like me, the hot dog at the turn is absolutely goated.
You know, it's funny. I just realized you and I are looking at it from a completely different lens because no, hear me out. Because I'm looking at it from like a performance tournament mindset standpoint. You're looking at it just from like your average Joe having a Saturday round at 1:30 in the afternoon with the boys. You're like 6 beers deep. You're like, I need a hot dog from the stand, and I need to put relish and cheese on it. Like,
Oh, it's God.
like,
Oh, the cheese.
like just I just find that like it just dawned on me. I just thought that was so funny.
No, but like, all right, hold on. It's funny because like this is more than just a performance thing. This is also like I try and play my best golf when I go out, but I'm not going to evade my hot dog at the turn.
No,
like,
that's understandable. Yes,
but like I'm not drinking beer, but I will most certainly have the hot dog easily.
Right.
Kate's making fun of me. She's like, hot dogs? Really? I'm like, bro, I have no idea.
Oh, they're great.
By the way, the Cherry Lynx $6 Montauk and a hot dog at the turn is the greatest deal in all of Long Island golf.
Oh my God.
Shout out Cherry Lynx, sponsor the show.
Cherry Lynx.
Cherry Creek.
There you go. Okay, that's better.
Cherry Creek, the Lynx course. Sorry. Second pick.
I think it's the Lynx at Cherry Creek.
Whatever.
All right. Anyway.
Second pick.
All right. For me, I'm gonna go with a Cliff Bar. Easy to handle. Pretty simple. You could just toss 4 or 5 of them in the bag. They have a variety of different flavors. Not a sponsor of the show. Neither are Uncrustables. They should really sponsor us. But regardless, very, very practical, very easy.
Yeah, you basically have stolen my first 2 picks. I'm going to go fruit snacks. I don't necessarily have a basis for what kind of fruit snacks. All I know is that the Arizona ones are horrible that they sell at Bethpage. But just like fruit snacks, particularly, you know what, Scooby-Doo fruit snacks. Those are the go-to in high school. So I'm gonna ride with those. Your third pick.
All right. This is are we both getting 5 picks?
Yep.
Okay. You're not even gonna believe this one. You'll believe it. You just are not expecting it.
Okay.
Fairlife protein shakes, specifically the ones with 42 grams of protein.
Fuck.
Those are good. Those are good for you.
They're amazing.
Right? And so, boom, that's easy. You make the turn. Like in a tournament, that's like my hot dog, you know? It's ideal.
All right. So stolen 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to go with the classic because everybody needs this after 9. Not particularly a snack per se. Classic Gatorade. The Gatorade, like, need that at the turn to get the juices replenished for the back 9.
Okay. My 4th pick. This is a tough one. All right. You do need a little bit of fruit in your system. Okay. You got to make sure you don't cramp up, especially in the summer months. Here, it's hot. It's humid. Down in Florida, it's even hotter and humid. Out in California, it's dry and hot. Bananas. Great source of potassium. There's a reason why those tennis players are always eating them in between their games when they're switching sides of the court. Bananas are very, very important.
I'm gonna go underrated one, a little bit more of a meal, like Kay had said to me earlier. And they particularly have these at Bethpage, and they're amazing, but they're overpriced. A turkey and cheese like cold wrap with some lettuce and tomato, a little turkey. Get it in there. Good replenisher to get you ready for that turn. Final pick here, last round. Find me a good sleeper.
Okay. Now, since you said Gatorade, I do feel that I can pick kind of like a liquid. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Liquid IV, the little thing, the stuff that you can pour into your water. That is a godsend. That is a godsend in professional golf.
You know what, though? I'm going to steal something from you, and I'm going to steal probably the most important part of this. He's been sitting in the green room. He's been waiting to get drafted the entire night. He's been very, very, very adamant. He thought he was going to be the 101. He thought he was Ben Roethlisberger the year that Eli and Phil got picked, and he fell all the way to the mid-first round. I'm going with the water. The simplest, Mr. Fundamental, the water. That alone is just...
Well, I mean, I technically took water, though, because Liquid IV goes in water.
Yeah, you took the packet that you get at the store. I'm taking the actual bottle. I'm screwing you out.
You're an idiot.
I'm screwing you out.
That is cheap. That is cheap.
Leave a comment if you think it's unfair.
Hey, have fun cramping while I have my Liquid IV, and that's like 3 waters in one, dude. Have fun.
All right. Well, you know what? You have fun. I'm going to enjoy my fucking hot dog and fruit snacks like a fat guy, like Fat Perez on the back nine. You go win your New York State Open. I'm going to bring my hot dog to caddy for you now,
No,
just
you're
to
not.
fuck with you.
I will literally fire you on the spot. No caddy of mine is eating a hot dog.
Are you dying, Kay?
If you
She's
get
having like a coughing attack. Oh my goodness.
you get
Anyways,
sick, I am not helping you.
Genesis Scottish Open this week, the tune-up to what we're going to see at Royal Troon in Scotland. Couple of things that I want to point out this week. Rory McIlroy is in the field. He still has not determined whether or not he's going to play. He obviously has not played since the PGA Championship. There's actually a report, according to a Twitter account that like gives out injury reports, that he is still questionable to play this week. There are some other guys who are questionable to play. Hideki Matsuyama is still dealing with a back injury. Will Zalatoris still dealing with a hip issue, amongst other things. But those are really the three injury reports that come in big time this week. The Renaissance Club for the Scottish Open. The big question on everybody's mind with this event being played the last couple of years in the tune-up to what has been, I believe the first time was at Liverpool for 149 and then St. Andrews for 150. Or I could be mixing that up. Liverpool was 151, whatever it is. They played the Renaissance Club here the last 3 years as the tune-up for the event. Should performance here at the Renaissance Club play into anything that we should expect at Royal Troon, or is it just two link-style golf courses that don't necessarily coordinate?
Look, I mean, links golf is links golf. If you have success in links golf, that is something to keep in mind. Look, you always in golf, especially when you're hot, you got to ride the hot hand. And so I think, look, I'm not saying this week is everything, because there is a reason why people use this as a tune-up. It's not just to get used to link style golf. It's also to get used to the time change, the weather, okay, the wind, okay, not just how the ball reacts. There's so much more. It's not just about that. There's, the different clubs you're going to end up using. A lot of guys, they end up putting 2 irons in the bag, and you would never see them hitting 2 irons here in the States. Most of them would have hybrids, but you can't hit hybrid. You really just cannot hit a hybrid over there. Mm-hmm. And so I think, look, something is not everything, but something is something. And so at the end of the day, this is an opportunity for the guys to reallocate themselves, I guess, to the conditions and the time change and the weather that links golf in that area of the world can bring. It's very unpredictable. There's a lot of unpredictability.
Yeah, very high wind conditions for the next 2 weeks here. The bunkers here are very similar to what they'll see at Troon. It isn't as hilly and undulated as Troon is, of course, particularly at this time of year. But link style golf is simply exactly what it is, link style golf. Dylan Dayfier had an interview with Shane Lowry, who is, I believe, possibly playing this week. I could be wrong if he's not. But no, actually, he's not playing this week. He had said that he loves playing this week, taking off this week because he gets to go and basically golf around Scotland golf around Ireland and at his home for an entire week, hang out with friends, get like reused to the style. And we've seen it a lot over the past. A lot of the guys who play largely on the DT World Tour or play from England, Ireland, Scotland, and around this area really do love playing link style golf comparatively to what they play on the PGA Tour, which is very much not that for the most part. So we should see a really interesting pace here. With that being said, I think this is actually a bigger tune-up for those European guys than it is the players on the PGA Tour. And the main reason is because those are the people that I look at to win these events more than I do particularly the Americans. Sorry, my mic cut out. Historically, at the Open Championship, Americans actually do have a really good track record of winning the Open. However, I think this is actually huge for those European players because of the fact that they can finally get back to their roots and they can play that link style golf. I feel like I've picked a European player every year to win this event and to win the Open, and it never seems to happen. But I very much think that we can see a instance where whoever plays well this week can very much run into next week and play very well. As you saw, Brian Harman played well here last year, went to Liverpool and played well. Colin Morikawa played well at Royal St. George's because of a solid week here. So a lot of things to unpack from that realm. With that being said, let's get right into the beer money picks. Let's see if those players from this week can churn out a big performance next week. Presented by our friends at Kenwood Beer. He's smooth, he's clean, he's bright with a taste of boot. He's not English, but he's most certainly down home Philly. He's the routine choice of folks who want a balanced, flavorful, no frills beer that is right for any occasion. 120 calories, 8 grams of carbs. Some call it the best light beer they've ever had. We just say you can't beat the original. Head to kenwoodbeer.com and use the Kenny Tracker to find where you can get your hands on some ice cold and refreshing Kenwood beers from your favorite liquor stores in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, and now Delaware, and of course the Wells Fargo Center and beyond. Must be 21 years or older to do so, and of course, please drink responsibly. For those who are gambling with us, please gamble responsibly as well. We begin with our top 20 selections at the Scottish Open. Ben still down 4. We both struck out horribly this past week. Let's see if we can ride the ship.
All right, look, so here's the deal. With link style golf, it's going to be so windy. It's a give and take because due to how fast the courses tend to play, they tend to keep the greens a lot slower, okay? And so I am willing to pick Will Zalatoris, a good ball striker, pending, if he's healthy or not, how he's feeling that week with the back. Putting is not as important per se, just because, okay, not important is not the right word to use. It's not going to be as difficult. Now, look, if it's windy, that's a completely different story, but that means it's just more difficult for everybody. The fact that the greens are slower, poor putters are generally better on slower greens anyway. And so with his ball striking prowess and how the greens are going to be slower, that might help him a little bit. I'm willing to pick Will Zalatoris for a top 20.
I don't see him on the odds board. Where is he? He must be way down there then.
I'm pretty sure he's plus 9,000
to win.
Yeah,
plus 9,000 to win. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I'm looking at the right thing.
Yeah, I see him there. Okay. All right. Plus 330 for a top 20. That's some pretty damn good money. My top 20 pick is somebody who's actually played really well at this golf course in particular, and is a completely different player for the most part when he plays across the pond. He's not from the British Isles, but he most certainly has plenty of experience playing in this part of the world from his time at the DP World Tour. You might remember him most recently playing really well at the Masters or possibly beating up on Americans out in Rome. I'm going to go with Nikolai Højgaard. He's currently 25th in the field in strokes gained total playing overseas here in the UK and Ireland. He won the DP World Tour Championship in this part of the country last year, won at 21 under par. If scoring is easy, I think he'll certainly play well, and he putts well on those slower style greens. Hasn't been great this year, but I do think there's some pretty good money there, plus 280 for Højgaard. Top 10.
Top 10. I'm going with a guy who has played well in these conditions before and actually won the Open Championship last year, Brian Harman, for a top 10.
I love it. My top 10 here, I'm going with some youth, and not particularly local youth, but at this event over the past 2 years, he's finished third and T6. He's actually played really good in court where he plays well. He plays consistently well there. He's first in strokes gained total in his past 2 tournaments. He's also third in strokes gained total playing in the UK and Ireland over the past 36 rounds, courtesy of Matt Vincenzi over at GolfWorks. Tom Kim at plus 300 for a top 10. Again, plays really well here. Strong player. Had a really good run last year for the Open. Had it not been for Brian Harman just dominating the field. Good shot here for Tom Kim, and I'm also going to ride him a lot into the Open. Top 5.
All right, top 5. I'm gonna go with Colin Morikawa for a top 5. I believe his ball flight fits this type of weather pretty well. He's more of a natural low ball hitter. He's much more about control, which is what you need when you have firm, fast, or just windy conditions in general. He doesn't really hit the ball offline, and that's very important. He's a smart player. You're not going to see him lose the ball with the wind going one way. I like Colin Morikawa for a top 5.
My top 5, it's his debut at this golf course, but he's been no stranger to playing big-time events and getting big-time wins. I wouldn't call this a quote-unquote big-time event, but it's most certainly as a tune-up to the Open and to his second Open. I think it's going to be a really strong event if he can finish well. I'm going to go with Ludwig Oberg at plus 350 for a top 5. I think this is a tremendous spot for him. Again, he's from Scandinavia, grew up in the States, but loves links golf. He fits the bill here for me at a top 5. Your gimme pick this week.
All right, look, I'm just going to be that guy. I know you've made this pick before, and I think it's just screaming at us in the face right now. I know it's screaming at me in the face. Xander Schauffele, top 10.
I love it. Yeah, like death and taxes, particularly.
I literally was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
Particularly as you approach the major, it makes sense. I actually wanted to take your top 10. And if it wasn't going to be Xander top 10, it was going to be Corey Connors top 20. And if it wasn't going to be Corey Connors top 20, it was going to be this. He has not played his best golf throughout the year, but he's kind of starting to hit his peak at the right time. Had one top 20 in his first 7 events of the year. In his last 5, he has 3 top 20s, including a 3rd-place finish at the PGA Championship. Victor Hovland for a top 20. He particularly plays well when he comes here. He always plays well at the Open. He gained like almost 3 strokes around the green last year at this golf course. He is a terrific player at the Renaissance Club. I'm riding high at plus 110. Pretty good for plus money for a top 20 at a Vic. Your winning pick at the Scottish.
All right. So earlier today, when I was looking at the odds, I was looking to see who fit the golf course and all that jazz. This pick has left me just left me stewing, because I narrowed it down to 2 players, and for the life of me, I literally couldn't figure out who I wanted to pick. And that being said, the odds are a little bit different, but I'm going to go as the type of I'm going to stick to my mantra of always going after more value than just shoe-ins, you know. That being said, I'm going to go with Matt Fitzpatrick to win this week.
I was kind of upset. I was kind of pulling for you to pull a complete American card this week in one of the 2 fucking events overseas for the year. I was really aiming for it. I'm also going with a Brit. I'm not going with Matty Ice. But this guy has a resume playing golf in the British Isles unlike any player in the history of the PGA Tour. Listen to this. He has not finished worse than 26th in 5 of his 6 starts at the Renaissance Club. Over his past 24 rounds, he's 16th in the field in strokes gained approach, 21st in strokes gained putting on slow greens. He has the best scoring average, not named Bernard Langer and Tiger Woods, in the history of the DP World Tour playing in the British Isles. Since the Scottish Open became a PGA Tour event, he's finished T4 and T6. In both of those starts, he gained more strokes on the entire field in strokes gained tee to green, strokes gained approach, and strokes gained putting. He's never won the event. Also never won a PGA Tour event. The closest he's ever gotten was he lost in a playoff to Aaron Rai in 2020 at this event. At that point on the DP World Tour. A 7-time DP World Tour winner. A great player in America, but he cannot close in America. He will close, not in England, but in Scotland.
Oh my God.
Tommy Fleetwood, back in the winner's circle for the first time in his career on the PGA Tour. Also, might I add, this is not only a PGA Tour event, it's a PGA Tour, DP World Tour co-sanctioned event. Therefore, the pressure's off. Just go win the fucking thing. The PGA Tour, the PGA part is the problem. When it's DP World Tour, all of a sudden, it's like, oh, I can win any fucking event I want. All of a sudden, it's the PGA Tour. It's like it's a kryptonite. But now it's co-sanctioned. Give me that money. Plus 2,000. Tommy Fleetwood. I'm excited. This is a very fun week. This is probably one of the top 5 weeks, in my opinion, on the PGA Tour because of how guys adjust, and it's a really good indicator for what you see at the Open. I'm also just really excited because we've had such incredible events so far, particularly the majors this year. The Masters was great. While Valhalla played really easy, I still think it was a great golf course to be had at. I think Royal Troon is, next to St. Andrews, probably the most historic Open site you can play at. It's been around literally forever.
You could throw Carnoustie in there. Yeah. So like amongst those courses, it's one of the 3 greatest, and we haven't been there in 10 years. So it's nice to finally get back. So I'm really looking forward to this week. I think the Open next week is going to be phenomenal. I cannot wait to wake up at like 3:30 in the morning to go watch the first 2 times out. I will be the guy who will probably end up streaming it at like 4 in the morning. And I've been saying this every single year. I've never done it. Probably will do it because I'm a masochist. But I won't do it on Saturday because I might be caddying for you. But we'll see what happens. Looking forward to all of it. This has been episode 162 of the Get in the Hole podcast. Like, subscribe, follow on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all socials at Get in the Hole Pod. Follow and like with the big boys up top, Underground Sports PHI, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, especially. Get us to our 1,000 follower mark. Be sure to leave a comment. Follow us on everything. Be sure to engage with us more. Leave comments. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know some new segments that you want included in the show on Spotify. Polls are open weekly. Let us know what your thoughts are. Thank you for a great show. It's been great to finally get back in the booth with you, Ben. A lot more great content to come, and let's get. Thanks for listening to Get in the Hole, the official golf podcast of Underground Sports Philadelphia. Catch us every week wherever you get your favorite podcasts, and be sure to like and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Get in the Hole Pod, and follow Underground Sports Philadelphia at Underground PHI. We'll see you next time, and remember, get in the hole!